Thanks for all your videos. Most of them were terrific, and I'm going to go over them quickly. You can listen in, and I'll make comments that everyone can use for all of their practice by using the examples from the videos. So let me get started and just play a few of those and make comments along the way. Okay, first video. Good, let's pause there. Most of this submission was similar. It could use a little bit more lively kind of interplay from the bow to make a more musical sound. Of course, when tones are long, they need to be energized with the vibrato. Actually, the bowing is quite steady and quite well developed. So much like an artist, once an artist learns to draw a straight line and a very good circle, then they spend the rest of their time practicing not to make straight lines or perfect circles, but to make things that are more expressive. And the same could be said of our bowing and the addition of vibrato. Let's hear a little more. You hear how the tone sits still for a long time. If we give it enough shape, then in a way we can sort of foreshadow the musical inertia of the phrase and the line. Most of this selection is more of the same. Let's go on to the next example. Good. So we have good consistency, we have good shifting. In this particular video, I'm observing that the left hand could be a little more liquid, a little more freed up. Right now it seems a little bit stiff, but it works very well. The rest of the selection is almost identical. It's very repetitive until we get to the portion with the scales. Again, if an idea is being repeated many times in the selection that you're going to play, let's concentrate on the concept and not just doing it over and over and over in the same piece, but let's concentrate on the concept so that then when you run into a similar rhythm or situation or fingering or shifting elsewhere, then it's easy to plug it in and make it fit with whatever's contemporary in your practicing. Let's skip ahead a little bit. There's an example of how the bowing the lightness of the bowing could be given out as these spaces between the notes, rather than you hear the difference, of course. let's skip ahead to our next example. Oh, by the way, yes, this particular submission came with a photograph, or an uploaded photograph to the same file of the music that's being played. So if you do that for me, it makes things very simple for me to observe your music, listen to your video, and give you feedback at the same time. Next example. So, in this particular case, learning the patterns. By the way, this is a famous audition spot for all of the string players, from a composition called "The Planets," written by British composer Gustav Holst around the turn of the 20th century, I believe. So this is a very popular symphonic work, often played. It has many tricky moments in it for the strings, and this is one of them. This shows up on auditions for all of our string sections. Violins, violas, cellos, and basses too, I believe. In this case, one could learn to greater advantage these scales by practicing them in a slur rather than stroking each note. This would clarify the movement of the left hand as being rhythmic, and also it would settle down the string crossing. So practice it at a very low level of energy, but at a very high speed, if that makes sense to you. Very light touch from the fingers, a very pure sound, and a very low level of effort, shall we say, so that the sequencing of the notes and the fingers can be absorbed as directly as possible without interference from too much energy coming from muscles that have not learned their pattern yet, you see. Let's move on to our next example. This is quite short. Yes, that should have been faster. And several times, just to gain reliability on that segment of music. Also, just a little bit more finesse at the end of the trajectory of those notes descending to the lower strings. More repetition and a little more speed. Yes, the sound's a little low on this one. We had a conference on this one already, and the conclusion we came to is that grouping more notes on a single string is, brings our phrasing to a smoother, higher level. In other words, not just using only the notes that are available in one hand position. So what we figured out for this particular passage is that by using position, a higher hand position on a lower sounding string, we could group more of the notes onto a single string for execution. and of course that requires a higher level of skill on shifting. This was quite lengthy, and I think it was all very similar. Yes, the use of the first position means that we're either using open strings or in most cases a little finger to substitute for the open string. So this becomes problematic if these notes are featured too long or too often, because the open string tends to be harsh and needs a special kind of playing, and then of course the little finger tends to be weak, so again needs a special kind of playing. So sometimes the simplest way to do things actually creates problems for execution. Here's my practice of the day. See if you can identify what concerto this is from.